Tea, a simple word that connects billions across the globe. But have you ever wondered where it all began? To find the answer, we travel to the heart of Yunnan Province, China, to Jingmai Mountain, a region that has been producing tea for over a millennium. This isn't your typical tea plantation. Here, tea trees don't grow in neatly pruned rows. They thrive in ancient forests, intertwined with nature. These aren't just trees, they're history. Living monuments tended by the Blang and Dai people who have preserved these sacred groves through generations. Let's pause here for a moment. How often do we stop to consider the origins of what we consume? Every sip of tea you've ever taken might carry whispers of this ancient mountain. The story of Jingmai tea begins with a single species, Camellia sinensis. This unassuming evergreen shrub has traveled the world, shaping cultures and economies, but its roots, quite literally, are embedded in the soil of Yunnan. The Blang people were among the first to domesticate wild tea plants, guided by their ancestor Pa Ai Leng. According to oral tradition, Pa Ai Leng taught the Blang that tea wasn't just a plant, it was a gift. He famously said, "Gold may fade, cattle may perish, but tea will provide riches for generations." His wisdom endures, influencing how tea is cultivated and revered to this day. Imagine standing beneath a 1,000-year-old tea tree. Its branches stretch skyward as though reaching for something eternal. This isn't just farming, it's a partnership with nature, deeply spiritual and profoundly sustainable. But let's not romanticize it too much. Tea cultivation here isn't easy. It's labor-intensive, requiring meticulous care and respect for the land. The Blang and Dai people navigate steep terrains, working under a canopy that nurtures biodiversity. This natural ecosystem protects the tea plants, enhancing their flavor while minimizing human interference. The result? A tea like no other. Pu'er. Known for its earthy, nutty notes, this tea is often compared to fine wine. It ages over decades, growing more complex and valuable with time. In fact, pu'er tea has been dubbed drinkable gold.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more topics you love.
As demand for pu'er tea grows, so does the pressure on these ancient forests. Climate change, pests, and commercial interests pose significant challenges, and yet the people of Jingmai remain steadfast, using traditional wisdom to overcome modern threats. This is just the beginning. In the next chapter, we'll dive deeper into how these ancient forests function as living sanctuaries, balancing tradition and innovation to produce some of the world's most coveted. Let's take a closer look at the tea forests of Jingmai, which are unlike anything else in the world. These aren't plantations, they're ecosystems, carefully maintained by the Blang and Dai communities. Each tree is part of a larger network, a sanctuary of biodiversity that supports both the environment and the people who rely on it. Here's where it gets fascinating. The tea trees are shaded by a natural canopy of taller trees, which protects them from excessive sunlight and helps retain moisture in the soil. This agroforestry system creates a microclimate ideal for tea cultivation, allowing the plants to develop rich, complex flavors. But it's not just about the trees. The forest floor is alive with ferns, herbs, and other vegetation that naturally fertilize the soil and ward off pests. This harmony between species is a key reason why Jingmai tea is considered superior. It's grown in balance with nature. Now think about this. How often do we prioritize short-term gains over long-term sustainability? The people of Jingmai have resisted the temptation to industrialize their methods, choosing instead to honor traditions that ensure the forest thrives for generations. But sustainability doesn't mean stagnation. Over the years, the communities here have adapted to challenges like climate change and market demands. For example, they've implemented partitioned forest plots to prevent the spread of pests and diseases. When a caterpillar infestation threatened their tea trees, they didn't turn to pesticides. Instead, they relied on hand-picking and natural barriers, a labor-intensive but effective solution. This commitment to preservation isn't just practical, it's deeply spiritual. The Blang believe that every tree has a soul, and they treat the forest as a living shrine. Rituals and prayers are woven into their agricultural practices, reinforcing a connection between people and nature that feels almost sacred. And the recent studies have shown that high-altitude tea trees from Jingmai produce less bitter leaves and support significantly more biodiversity than commercial tea gardens. This isn't just good for the environment, it's good for the tea, making Jingmai pu'er some of the most sought-after in the world. But with success comes new challenges. As the value of Jingmai tea rises, so does the risk of overexploitation. How do you balance tradition with modernity? How do you preserve the soul of something while adapting it for a changing world? As we step into the present, the story of Jingmai tea is one of both triumph and tension. On one hand, this remote mountain has become a global symbol of quality and sustainability. On the other, it faces pressures from commercialization and environmental change. Let's start with the good news. In 2023, Jingmai Mountain was recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. This designation brought international attention to the region, highlighting its unique cultural and ecological significance. It also provided a framework for preserving the forests and their traditions. But recognition comes with its own set of challenges. Increased demand for Jingmai tea has driven up prices, creating new opportunities but also new risks. Others have faced conflicts over land use and development. So how do you protect a legacy while embracing progress? The answer lies in community. The Blang and Dai people have come together to establish guidelines that prioritize sustainability. They've partnered with researchers and the Chinese government to study the forests, document traditional practices, and implement eco-friendly infrastructure. Innovation is also playing a role. Younger generations are finding new ways to connect with tea lovers around the world. Live-stream tea tastings, online sales, and modern packaging are helping Jingmai tea reach new audiences while preserving its authenticity. At the same time, the community remains rooted in its traditions. Rituals like the spring harvest and tea ceremonies continue to honor the spirit of the forest, reminding everyone that Jingmai tea is more than a product. It's a heritage. As we look to the future, the story of Jingmai is a powerful example of what's possible when people work in harmony with nature. It challenges us to rethink how we approach agriculture, sustainability, and even our own consumption habits. So the next time you sip a cup of tea, take a moment to think about where it comes from. Consider the hands that picked the leaves, the forests that nurtured them, and the history that shaped them. In every sip of Jingmai tea, you're tasting more than flavor. You're tasting a legacy. Thank you for joining me on this journey. The birthplace of the world's finest tea isn't just a place, it's a story of resilience, innovation, and reverence for nature. Let's honor that story by savoring it, sharing it, and learning from it. The legacy of Jingmai tea is ours to carry forward. Jingmai is more than a physical location. It's a living testament to the power of coexistence. Here, people and nature don't just share space, they thrive together, creating something extraordinary. The Blang and Dai communities have cultivated these tea trees for over a millennium, not by controlling nature but by harmonizing with it. This approach isn't just about preserving tradition, it's about ensuring survival in an ever-changing world. The tea forests of Jingmai have weathered droughts, pests, and the pressures of modern commerce, all while maintaining their integrity. How? By blending ancient wisdom with adaptive innovation. Think about this for a moment. In our fast-paced, high-tech world, how often do we pause to ask whether progress aligns with sustainability? Jingmai shows us that growth and preservation aren't opposites, they're partners. What if we applied that philosophy to more of our industries, our cities, or even our daily lives? The influence of Jingmai tea extends far beyond the mountain. Every cup of pu'er tea brewed in a home, served in a cafe, or shared among friends carries a piece of this legacy. It connects people across continents, bridging cultures through a shared appreciation for craftsmanship and flavor. But Jingmai's story also raises critical questions about global consumption. As tea drinkers, do we consider the impact of our choices? Do we support sustainable practices, or do we chase the lowest price at any cost? Jingmai challenges us to be more mindful, reminding us that every purchase has a ripple effect. And then there's the cultural impact. By preserving their tea traditions, the Blang and Dai communities are also preserving their identities. Their rituals, stories, and beliefs are woven into the very fabric of these tea leaves, ensuring that their heritage remains vibrant and relevant. This is more than farming, it's storytelling on a global scale. Now it's your turn. How can you honor the legacy of Jingmai Mountain in your own life? Maybe it's by savoring your next cup of tea with greater awareness. Maybe it's by supporting small-scale sustainable producers. Or maybe it's by looking at your own surroundings and asking, how can I live in better harmony with nature? The story of Jingmai tea isn't just a tale of the past, it's a blueprint for the future. It shows us that tradition and innovation can coexist, that resilience comes from community, and that even the smallest actions can have lasting impact. So the next time you drink tea, let it be a moment of reflection. Think about the ancient trees, the hands that picked the leaves, and the people who have devoted their lives to preserving this extraordinary heritage. In that cup, you hold a connection to something much bigger than yourself. As we conclude this journey, remember that the story of Jingmai Mountain is far from over. It continues to evolve, shaped by the people who call it home and the tea lovers who cherish its products. By sharing this story, by supporting its values, we become part of that legacy. Thank you for exploring the birthplace of the world's finest tea with me. Together we've uncovered a story of resilience, innovation, and harmony that inspires not just tea drinkers, but all of us who seek a better way to live and connect. Let's take these lessons forward. One cup at a time, the legacy of Jingmai is now in your hands. Let's make it count. Think about this. One tea leaf, nurtured on a 1,000-year-old tree in Jingmai, can travel across the globe and touch lives in ways unimaginable to its growers. It becomes part of a story, your story. Each sip connects you to the hands that harvested it, the forest that nurtured it, and the history that shaped it. But this ripple effect goes both ways. The choices we make as consumers, whether we support sustainable practices, whether we value heritage, send ripples back to places like Jingmai. Are we contributing to the preservation of these ancient traditions, or are we unintentionally eroding them? This isn't just about tea, it's about the power of small decisions. Every action we take, every purchase we make, has the potential to shape the world in ways we may never fully see. Jingmai's story reminds us that we are all interconnected, part of a larger ecosystem of people, nature, and history.